Miss King, you're the mother of two sons, and you spend a significant amount of your time working with young males. And you stated that you use football as a means to connect with them. What is the
Right.
ultimate goal here?
So the ultimate goal is that I see a lack amongst our young men, right? We see crime and violence that is prevailing in our society, mostly driven by young men. Um, we see the behaviors, the fighting, the bullying that's happening in the schools. You're seeing it with both boys and girls. But I find that boys are kind of just pushed to the side. And, they're not to show any emotion, they're not to show care, they're not given any of that. So they're to toughen up and handle it like a man is the local way of looking at things. So the goal for me is to show them that it's okay to love, it's okay to be loved, and experience someone caring for them. And I think it's more impactful because it's someone that's not in their family that really picks up the phone and say, hey, how's school going? Get the homework. Why is it so important for your grades? I know, you know, you hear scamming and the quick money, but what happens if? And what about ethics? What about morality? How would you like if this was your child? So we start. The goal is really to get them to understand that despite their circumstances, they're not defined by it. And so they can do anything and be greater than anything if they truly believe it, and do it the right way, do it the ethical way, do it the moral way. That's what my goal is.
Miss King, as circumstances would have it, you are the mother of two sons. And
Yes,
I did not ask if you're a single parent.
I am.
Mm.
I am. I have one biologically, and the other one I adopted 3 years ago, and he's actually a year older than my son. So I have a 16 and a 17-year-old.
So talk to
But
me about bringing them up as a single parent, raising
um,
two boys.
so I do try my hardest, and I think that's one of the reasons why I went into the area of football, because when my son was smaller, the tendency as a mother is to cuddle and to huggy they call it. And you know people will say, oh, you're raising him too soft, he's going to get too mushy. So I wanted him in sports so that he could have that male bonding, because I wasn't able to provide that within the home. So he got into football. He did track, swimming, basketball. I exposed him to everything, music. He even did martial arts just to help mold, right? They do say a community can help raise your child, right? And I think that having good, sound male influences in his life would help to make that difference and give him the balance, as I'm a single female. And the nanny was a female. So, he was surrounded a lot by females, and I wanted to give him that exposure. So he got a very good balance, I think. He's a child that will come and he will hug me and say, Mom, I love you. Come here, let me hug you. And, he doesn't see anything of it. And I see him doing it with his male friends now. Like,
Mhm.
bro, I love you. Man to man, I love you, kind of thing. Um, it was a little trickier with the other one because I got him at a time when he was getting 13. He was, hitting that teenager when I started. being a part of his life.
Okay.
And he did not start living with me until he turned 15. Now, he comes from a depressed um, community, um, and nothing wrong with that. But he came. It was a very violent community. It's a well-known community that has to have soldiers at checkpoints just to try and help to keep the peace. So he has seen a lot as a small child that he should never have been exposed to. And I think that makes him very hardened. It also made him very reserved. Um, but it was through football because he that was his escape,
Mm-hmm.
that brought us together, and just showering him with love, and getting him used to being hugged and speaking for what he wants. He would never do it. Now he says, "Oh, I'm out of something. Can you get me this? Oh, I would love to do this. Can I?" It has slowly evolved. And he will come and he will lie down in my lap and talk to me about this is what he wants to do. He wants to go pro with football or soccer, and I do my best to expose both of them to that kind of. It's okay to talk to a female about anything. So we talk sex, we talk girls, we talk everything. So much so now that their friends are doing it with me. They
Wow.
come and they want somebody to talk to. And, you know, we talk sex, we talk protection and condoms, and it's it's a safe space that I try to create where there's no judgment, there's
Mm-hmm.
freedom to speak with only one parameter required, and that's respect. So we won't shout, we won't get angry. Those emotions, we're going to try and keep them in check as we learn how to communicate freely. And in working with a lot of the some of the football programs and teams, clubs, um, I've developed some amazing relationships with some of these boys. And they will see me, having not seen me in months, and they'll come and they hug, and it's like, wow, these are boys that are freely, publicly hugging, and um, they expect me to do the same. So um, it is challenging to raise boys as single mothers, and
Mm-hmm.
I salute any woman who is able to do it, um, and try and maintain the balance. It's very, very hard, and it's a conscious decision that you have to make every single day to remember that, oh, wait, you're gonna have to allow them some space to evolve and to talk and to be themselves without your, on them model coddling them. That has been the challenging part for me because I want to show them that I love them all the time. And in showing them that, I have to remember that at some point there's some lines that they shouldn't cross. There that that thin line of respect and the joking and when to say what, and it's a conscious thing that you have to do every single day, to raise them. But it's been a joy, and it has helped my own self development, I think,
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
how I relate to men in general.
Mm. So, you're doing this work. Are you doing it in a freelance type of way, or is it on an organization?
It's not under an organization. I do it on my own.
Okay.
Um, most of the organizations that when I do reach out, they want to work with either really small kids,
Mm-hmm.
or reform for those who might have already left school. But I think that 13 to 18 is a huge gap,
Mm-hmm.
and if we can catch that, and make some really critical changes. I mean, I, I don't even want to get started about some of the changes that I think need to happen, like our school reform, and how we deal with boys who act out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our format is detention, suspension, expulsion. That
Mm-hmm.
has not solved the root. It has not fixed the problem. And these young men, when you expel them, are the same ones that are going to come into your homes and invade your home
Mm-hmm.
and rob and steal because you've closed all their doors, right? So for me, I think it's so important to really try and catch these boys, and they're seriously being influenced by the scamming industry and the music industry and what they're singing about, the crime and violence and the immorality. It's sad because that's what's raising them, because most parents don't have the time to raise their own children right now, and they're depending on schools, and as schools they're failing them because the teachers can't handle, they're not willing to teach like how I was taught, where if there's a child that isn't is falling behind, you change your format to make sure that they, because every child learns differently. Now all they want to do is open the book, read, did you understand, move on to the next subject. And that's not teaching, because those kids could have stayed at home and read the book themselves.
Mm.
So
Is it the case that there are more students per classroom or per teacher? No.
so yes. Yes, it's going to be very hard as a teacher, no doubt about it. The classroom sizes are huge, and you're talking about boys coming into from different backgrounds and social, economic, backgrounds, where how they deal with a female teacher versus a male teacher, you know, being confined, uh, with 39 or 40 different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be challenges, but I believe that teachers have an opportunity if we would just change how we teach, right? We, for me, if I can say this, every era we have moved. Industrial, if you look at the picture of a car when Ford built it to the cars to today, there's change. If you look at how our educational system was back then, it was teaching us in assembly lines. That's what they were teaching us for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at our schools today, they're still assembly lines. How the classroom is set up, how how we teach, nothing has changed in our educational system. And it's such a shame, because that's the one area that can have the biggest impact, because they're spending 7.5, 8 hours at school. That's their main community. And if you think about, if they stay back for doing sports, a child is away from their home 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. um, that's where we can have the biggest impact. And yet our educational system is like it was in way back when.
So, Miss King, before these kids even get into the classroom, there's a house, there's a home, right?
Yeah,
There's some work to be done there.
of course, of course. So our economy in Jamaica has not made it very easy, right? And then we have a lot of single parent homes, with visiting parents, visiting fathers, and um, you know it puts a lot of strain on the single parent to raise one, two, maybe three kids. Um, so they're hustling. They're out there just working to get the money and bring it in and provide. Whereas when you had two parents, one was predominantly the provider in our scenario, the male, and the mother was the homemaker. So you had a balance. That has derailed. So children are being raised by grandmothers and nannies and computers and TV and games, social media. They don't have that injection of parent where a child spends the most time. Once they get to 5, 6, they're at school 7 hours a day.
Right.
Where a child spends the most time. Once they get to 5, 6, they're at school 7 hours a day.
A collision with purpose. In pursuit of purpose.